And everybody, this is, as was just mentioned, a discussion of how to maintain your certifications through PMI. Now, we're going to be talking about the specific rules for PDUs and the CCR process specific to the PMP certification. However, if you have other PMI certifications, all other PMI certifications go through a similar renewal cycle and maintenance cycle, except for the CAPM. The Certified Associate in Project Management is the only PMI certification that does not require you to report PDUs because it's done in 5 years. At 5 years, there's no renewal. It's done. You either retest, go for the PMP, or do something else. All the others have it. Now, we're going to be focusing on the specific details from the PMP. So if your certification is something else, you're going to want to go out to PMI.org, and you're going to want to download the certification handbook for the particular certification that you are a part of, that you hold, your credential. So our agenda, we're going to start a little bit about New Horizons. Then we're going to start our discussion of what are PDUs, have an overview of the CCR cycle that is going to lead us down into the depths of understanding what are the categories of the PDUs that can be claimed. Because, of course, they've changed. Through the time, they have changed. They're different than the first time that I submitted them. And they'll probably change again, in which case I'll have another webinar. Oh, yeah, we'll do it. So who is New Horizons? I work for New Horizons. Anthony works for New Horizons. We're a proven worldwide training provider with flexible learning solutions covering a broad spectrum of topics taught by industry-leading instructors. I love hearing that. Yeah, and more importantly for our particular piece right now is this little fact. We are also a PMI rep organization, REP, Registered Educational Partner. Now that's an important acronym, important abbreviation for the discussion we're going to have of categories of PDUs that you can report. It means we offer classes that are pre-registered with PMI to count towards a specific number of PDUs. Facts to consider along New Horizons. We have the largest international network, over 2,100 classrooms worldwide, with over 2,400 instructors located in 56 countries. We are training 3 million student days of training per year. That's pretty impressive. We offer flexible integrated learning methods. We offer instructor-led training, meaning live in person, but also online live, which is also instructor-led. Up to this point today, I've been teaching a web development class. Look at that, which is the type of projects that I typically manage. Private group training can also be gotten through us, customized for your organization needs. We have strong vendor partnerships. As I mentioned, the important one for this particular discussion right here. Oh, yes. Now, getting into our topic for today, okay? Why are we having the discussion? Because you've earned a certification, whether it be the project management professional or the program management professional or PMI's Agile certified professional, whatever it might be. If you've taken these exams, if you've gone through them, you know full well one thing to be true above all the rest. You don't want to have to take that exam again, right? I don't care who you are. The PMP exam wasn't fun for anybody. I've yet to meet anyone that said, oh, well, that was simple, I enjoyed it, let's do it again. No. So you need to maintain it. You need to maintain it. This presentation is going to discuss the necessary steps in order to maintain that certification so that you don't have to fill out that application again, so that you don't have to go through and take that exam again on a new model. Ooh, yeah. So what are PDUs? Well, it stands for Professional Development Units, and that's really the concept behind it. It's supposed to represent our continuing goal to be on the top of our game, to be the best we can be in our profession. The PMP certification and other PMI certifications would not hold a lot of weight long term. If people came up to the companies and went, yes, I'm a PMP, I've been a PMP for 10 years. If all that meant was they took a test 10 years ago and haven't looked at it again since, right? This makes sure that people that hold the PMI credentials maintain being on top of the game, being aware of current trends in the industry, new best practices and practices being shared, that we do the work, that we stay active within it and contribute to it as a profession. The professional development unit is the units used to quantify different approved learning and professional service activities. We report them to PMI as part of what's known as the Continuing Certification Requirements Program, CCR program. In order to maintain or renew your PMP or other certifications, we, for PMP, have to report 60 professional development units every 3 years. We work in a 3-year cycle for the CCR cycle. 3 years. Every 3 years, 60 professional development units. Now, what does that really mean? The CCR program was designed, like I was just saying, to really make sure that the world holds these certifications up at the top level and says, wow, that's worth something to us. That's somebody we want. So this program is designed to enhance the ongoing professional development of people who already hold the certification. We don't want to be stagnant. We don't want people representing our certification. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go to a job interview, say, yes, I'm an existing PMP, and have them go, well, I've met plenty of those. Doesn't mean much. It meant a lot to me. It was a lot of work. This keeps that fresh. No one should be able to say that about a PMP because they have to go through this. It also encourages and recognizes individualized learning opportunities, helps to sustain the global recognition and value of the PMI credentials as we're talking about. It offers a standardized and objective mechanism for recording those activities that are what we do to develop our professional skills, our acumen. So what do we need to do to go through this, to take part in the CCR program, to keep our credentials up to date? This is the part they don't tell you in the classes where they're teaching you how to pass the exam, right? They don't tell you this. They tell you things like, oh, yeah, it's good for life as long as you maintain it. Yeah. First thing you need to do is you need to know the dates of your cycle. Everybody's dates follow the same set of rules. Okay? You determine your certification or CCR cycle dates. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment. Within that cycle date, which is a full 3 years, each cycle you must attain no less than 60 professional development units. No less than 60. Not really in our discussion in slide deck, but if you gain more than that, you can actually transfer 20 professional development units from the last year of your cycle into the next cycle. If you gained 80 in a 3-year period, it can take 20 if they happen within the last year, and apply those towards the next cycle, which is kind of a bonus piece. Yeah. But you have to attain no less than 60. You also have to report them. You can't just say, yep, I did it. You got to report the professional development units. Now there's an online system attached to the CCR program. We go in and we report them by reporting them by category and specifying the number of units or hours that we were involved in that activity. Of course, that's not it. You also have to go and complete the online application for renewal, which is just filling out forms and clicking the button, really. Okay? In it, you're going to reaffirm that you are going to be held to PMI's Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. You can't do anything with PMI without affirming that you will follow and will uphold that Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. You can't be a member of PMI without it, although membership is optional. You can't even, they have their volunteers. A non-member volunteer of PMI also has to agree to this Code of Ethics. Every time we go to renew, we must check off that, yes, we will uphold that code of ethics and professional conduct. And it gives us the chance to be aware of any changes that might have occurred within that document. You also reaffirm the renewal agreement, part of which says that you will deal with the code of ethics and professional conduct. And of course you pay them. That's the part they put to the end there. You submit the credential fee. Every 3 years, if you're a current member of PMI, $60 to renew for the next 3-year cycle. If you're not a member, $150. $150 for the renewal. Well, if I'm doing all this stuff online, we need to be aware of what online resources are available to us at PMI.org. For instance, going back a couple here, right? Determine the certification and CCR cycle dates. Report PDUs and complete the renewal. Those are done from 2 specific tools online at PMI.org. 2 specific tools are made available to us for this purpose. The first one can be found here. Secure website, https, certification.pmi.org. It is not my intent to take you out to that site. You have to log into it. You will be using your logins. My login won't help you. Now, what can I do with the online certification system? What parts of this process are there? Well, you can view your listing on the certification registry. If you are currently a PMP in good standing and have not disallowed your name from being in the registry, then you will find your listing in there along with the date you passed the exam, your certification date. That's going to be necessary to determine your cycle dates. It's also where PMI stores its contact information for you. So you can go update your contact information, update your mailing address, other pieces like it. As I said, we use it to determine the CCR cycle dates. We also make it available to go, hey, look in the certification registry, find me, boss. But this is also the location. This is the site you log into. This is the tool you log into to submit that renewal application and, of course, submit payment for the fee, whether it's the $60 for members or the $150 for non-members. However, that's not where you go to report your PDUs. It has links to it. But if you just want to go report your PDUs or to look up activities that can be used to earn PDUs, then this is a tool for you. The CCR system, CCRS is what it's called on the URL. Again, it's the secure website piece. You'll have to log in with your account. Others can't log in for you. The CCR system, ccrs.pmi.org. Now, among other things that are there, is it's got a searchable database of pre-registered activities that award PDUs. Specifically, this is going to be in what we are going to refer to by its proper name, Category A of PDUs, later in this discussion and presentation. Now, you're going to want to report your PDUs as you earn them, okay? Don't make the mistake that I think all of us have probably made at some point. I'm going, oh, I'll do it later. You're going to lose your documentation. You're going to forget where it is. You're going to forget to do it until it's the last second. Then there's going to be a problem with your internet connection. Get it in there. As you as you attend the classes, as you perform the activities or are involved in them, go get your credit for them. Log in, keep it up to date. But also, as I said, the specific details for any maintenance is within the handbook of that credential. Go to your PMP handbook, and it's going to tell you that just like your initial application with your work history for the PMP, your PDU credits, your PDUs reported, are subject to a random selection for auditing up to 1.5 years after you've reported them. Well, after you've renewed. So do yourself a favor. Keep a clean folder. That's just your PDU folders, your CCR folder. Keep the documentations, like if you attended a class, keep the certificate of completion. Keep it, because that's what you'd submit if you got selected for that type of audit. It's got a searchable database. You need to find PDUs? You got renewal coming up? You're running out of time? Go up to the searchable database of activities. It'll tell you about registered educational partners in your area. Again, New Horizons is among them. You can find out what classes they're offering. You can find out what PMI conferences or other events are being held that count for PDUs. And you can sign up for them. Report the PDUs through this website. And it also allows you to check and verify that all the PDUs you reported are in there, that you're getting credit for everything you've done. PMI online resources. Now let's talk about that piece that we said we could do through here. Determining the CCR cycle dates. 3 years, but 3 years to what date? You look up your certification date. If you still have your certification, you don't really have to go to get it somewhere else. It's on your certificate too. But your first cycle begins the very day you pass your exam. That's the date of certification. And it ends 3 full years later. 3 full years. Each cycle after that is 3 full years, but from that same date. See, it is possible to renew early if you've got the credits in place and you feel like doing it early. Why not beat the deadline? And despite what a lot of people think, it is also possible to renew late. It is. They give you, it's not really a grace period, we're going to be talking about it, but they give you a window of opportunity if you didn't earn enough professional development units within that cycle. There is a period of time where you can still earn it, report it, and get it back. But when you do that, it doesn't change the dates of your next cycle. They're always going to be from the exam date. Always. So as an example, if you passed your exam on the 15th of September 2011, I picked that date because it's the one in the PMP handbook as the example. That's why I picked it. Okay? Then you've got one full calendar, well, not calendar year, one full year, 365 days. That means you need to renew not by 15th of September 2014, because that's the next year, but by the 14th. Your next cycle, your ability to earn new PDUs and start reporting them, starts on the 15th of September 2014. That second cycle you'd have to renew by the 14th of September 2017. You'd have to earn 60 PDUs within each of those cycles. Within each and every one. If you stay renewing within your cycle time, you will remain a PMP in good standing. Yay! You'll be listed in that registry, so employers and customers can look you up, can verify that you have that credential, that you are in good standing with PMI, that they recognize you as a professional. And that's what it's about. However, if, for whatever reason, you fail to renew by the last day of your CCR cycle, it doesn't mean that your credential is gone, okay? It doesn't mean the credential is expired. You didn't lose your PMP, but it does go into a suspension status. It gets suspended. It is suspended for 1 year. 1 year. During that year of suspension, you're not allowed to refer to yourself as a PMP. Okay, you can't put that on your documents. You can't put that on your signature. You can't use the logo. You're not a PMP in good standing. You are suspended. During that year, you can continue to complete requirements to earn PDUs and get the chance to renew anytime within it. Now, once you complete the PDUs necessary and you renew, again, that late renewal doesn't change the dates for the next cycle. If I take the full year, I don't now have 3 years to the next piece. They're done right back here. The periods overlapped. If I came in late here, I have until September 14, 2015 to complete the PDUs and renew my credential without losing it. During that time, I am suspended. My PMP credential is suspended. I won't be able to be found in the registry. I can't report myself as a PMP. But let's say that I do get it renewed before the 14th of September 2015. My renewal cycle doesn't suddenly become the 14th of September 2018. It stays here. I have used a part of my next 3-year cycle to earn PDUs for the last one. So I got to make up for that. I got to keep moving. I've got to keep on it. Got to generate those units, report them in a timely manner to be able to get full credit for them. Late renewal does not change the dates for your cycle. Doesn't change the year or the date. Okay, none of it. They stay set against your certification date, the date you passed your exam. Now what happens if you fail to renew within that 1 year of suspension? Well, in that case, you don't have a PMP anymore. You can't renew because you don't have it. Your credential expired. The official term is it expired. Well, what if I want my PMP back? You're going to have to resubmit the initial application to sit the exam. You're going to have to sit the exam and you're going to have to pass it. You're going to have to do it as though you had never had a PMP in the first place. Don't let that happen to you. Don't. Take advantage of that if you have to. Take advantage of the suspension period if you need to. You're not going to want to do that more than once, though, for a lot of reasons. It'll just stress. But stay on top of your cycle time. It's the only way to ensure that you will keep your credential in good standing throughout. Now, there is another status. There's retired. A retired PMP is still a PMP. It's not the same as having it expired. In order to achieve the retired status as a PMP, you must be a PMP in good standing and voluntarily relinquish your active status because you really did retire from that job role. Doesn't mean that you're completely out of work. You can do work, but your primary means of remuneration, it cannot be project management. Your primary income can't be this job. If it is, you can't retire your credential. So if you have retired from the profession, you can enter into a retired status for your PMP. In order to do so, you must be now, at the time that you're applying for this, a PMP good standing for at least 10 consecutive years. Now remember, suspended status is not the in good standing status. So again, stay on top of your CCR cycle. They do charge a $100 processing fee to process the application for the retired status. Now once in retired status, unlike having it expired or suspended, you can still report yourself as a project management professional. But you no longer are required to earn PDUs to maintain that ability. The really cool thing about it, though, is that in the retired status, if a couple of years go by and you go, or 5, 10 years go by, and you go, I want to go back into the business. I want to go back to project management. You can apply to have your status returned from retired to active without having to retest. So there's that. Now that covers the status models that are available for it. And the reason we talked about this one is because of that at least 10 consecutive years, right? If you go into suspension, there goes your consecutive years right there. They ended. Now, how do we earn PDUs? PDUs represent activities. Activities that you are involved in. Activities must be related to project management topics and that must be substantially consistent with the current PMBOK guide. Not the PMBOK guide you're certified under, but the current one. So right now, 5th edition. The activities must involve appropriate expert resources. You're not allowed to have a meeting with your 10-year-old and go, well, I talked about project management, therefore I've got PDUs. That doesn't count. Okay. You might have had a talk that was related to project management, but they were not appropriate resources to count towards a professional development. PDUs come in all sorts of varieties. Most of the rest of what we're going to be talking about is breaking those down so we can understand them better. But ultimately, you earn a one professional development unit for each hour spent engaged in the activity. Now you can report PDUs in half units for every half hour spent, and even quarter units for every 15 minutes spent. You can't do other fractions though. It's a quarter PDU, a half a PDU, or a full PDU. And it is based around the time spent engaged in the activity. 1 hour, 1 PDU. Now to help us understand it and report it, our professional development units have been divided into 6 separate categories. And they have set rules about these by grouping the categories into 2 divisions. 3 categories belong to one division, 3 categories belong to another. The divisions. The first division, education. You could have all 60 PDUs come from the education categories. This doesn't mean that there's no limitations per category, but you could have all 60 come from educational activities. All of them. There's no maximum on the number of professional development units that you can report from the education division. Limits on the categories might exist. One of them has a limitation. But here's the thing. Yeah, there's no maximum. But there is a maximum on the other category. And the maximum in the other category requires that at least 15 of the professional development units that you report each cycle are educational credits. That are educational credits. They want to ensure that somebody presenting themselves as a PMP is up to date on trends in the industry, on the current model, on the current standard. So here are the categories, just the names. We'll detail them in a moment. Category A, as it turns out, are courses offered by PMI's registered educational partners, PMI chapters, and PMI communities, also known online now, they've made a big push for this, called communities of practice. In fact, there's currently a published flyer out on PMI. They're trying to get everybody to be aware of it. The communities of practice, they're smaller than the chapters, but they can actually span multiple regions because there's a lot of online community. These have activities and events available on a much more continuous schedule than the chapters do, than the chapter events. Like the meetings and seminars and so forth for the chapters. The second category, category B of our PDUs, is continuing education. Those would be classes that you took that weren't rep classes, weren't from a registered educational partner. Now that could be from a college, a university, or it could be something that awards continuing education units, CEUs. There's the formula for it. 1 continuing education unit is equal to 10 professional development units. It still has to be on topic. You can't take something on, basket weaving. If it offers CEUs, I doubt it would, but if it did, that doesn't mean it's going to count towards the PDUs for PMP. All the activities have to be relevant to project management and have to be substantially consistent with the current standard, 5th edition PMBOK guide. The final category for education, category C, self-directed learning. Now this is the one that's going to have a limitation on it. We'll talk about it, don't worry, we're going to go a little deeper with these. But self-directed learning is what you do on your own. But it's got to include some kind of research or working with people. It includes being mentored on the job and other pieces. Now there's a limitation to how much self-directed learning you can report for a given cycle. But as a division, you can have all 60 of your PDUs come from these 3 categories. They could all come from category A, or they could all come from category B, or they could come from a mixture, category A and C, and B and C, or A, B, and C, or these others coming up. for us to earn is from the division that PMI refers to as giving back to the profession. Giving back to the profession. Now there's 3 categories here to report. But the credits, the PDUs that you earn in any of these categories, any of these 3, go towards a maximum total that can be submitted or reported in a single cycle. Only 45 of your 60 professional development units per cycle can come from these 3 categories, any mixture of them. These categories include creating new project management knowledge. First time I read that title, I did what you're probably doing right now, but what does that mean? We're going to talk about it. Volunteer service. And you actually get professional development units from just being a professional project manager. If you manage projects at your business, at your organization, you can earn a specific number of credits per professional development units per cycle. You can report them. Now those are a little bit different than the 1 hour to 1 PDU. You can't get them all that way. We're going to break down those details because these are categories D, E, and F, which is what our discussion's about to go into. Let's have a better understanding and be aware of any limitations that go with these different categories. For instance, there's surprises in a lot of them. For instance, the bottom bullet point on this screen. I was unaware that I could go online to PMI.org and find a publication quiz where I read an article published through PMI and take a quiz on the contents. I can get PDUs for that. I was unaware of it. For a long time. I've now used it. So, hey, that's credits. Let's go. Yeah. PDU Category A are courses offered by PMI's reps, chapters, and communities, those communities of practice. Now, online, in the online CCR system, that website we talked about before, https://ccrs.pmi.org. There's a searchable database of registered educational partners and their course offerings. You can find in that CCR system. You'd find my company in there. You'd find the classes that I teach for project management available, already credited towards those PDUs. You can even find the dates that they're offered because they're registered ahead of time. Now, Category A also includes attending PMI events like a PMI chapter meeting, PMI conferences, attending as opposed to being one of the presenters or something else. That belongs in the other division. Category A PDUs can also be earned, as I was saying a moment ago, by taking, and this is a trademarked name, okay, PMI publication quiz. The publication quizzes can be found by looking in this data area. Okay, the same place that you'd access that searchable database for reps, you can find PMI publication quizzes, where they have you read an article, and then after you've read and take your notes on the article, you take a quiz. You need to get at least 80% correct on the quiz to get PDUs for it. They have specified how many PDUs it is. If you're a slow reader, you don't get more credit. You know, that's not the way it works. They have quantified what it will be worth. But it's a good and easier way to earn some professional development units. That's Category A. There's no limit on the number of professional development units out of the 60 each cycle. There's no limit to how many can come from Category A. There's also no limit to how many can come from Category B, continuing education. These are professional development units for completing courses offered by universities or colleges that are relevant to project management, or attending any courses, conferences, seminars, or symposiums by training organizations that are not PMI, not one of its communities of practice, and not a rep, not a registered educational partner. Again, if the course offers continuing education units, the formula for conversion is 1 CEU equals 10 PDUs. Represents 10 hours of training. 10 hours of your time is the belief. Now, category C, still in the education division, right? Self-directed learning. There is a limitation here because it's harder for them to actually, be able to verify what you were doing and what you did. By the way, the handbook does give guidance as to what kind of documentation you'd have to provide if you're audited for any of these categories, what to keep in that folder I was recommending. Here, you need to have your notes. Individualized learning events involving personally conducted research or study. Can include informal activities. If you have a magazine subscription about project management, reading those articles regularly will count for professional development units. Reading articles, books, or instruction manuals that are relevant to project management must be relevant. They must meet a specific purpose, and they must use knowledgeable resources. Along with reading, it also includes watching videos, using CD-ROMs, watching podcasts, or any other source material that makes sense to a way of helping you to learn specific aspects of project management or general concepts. And it doesn't have to be directly one project management model. Remember, if you're studying Agile or Scrum, those are project management methodologies, and they do not, while they do not fall easily into the PMBOK guide concept, they do not conflict with it and do still say that the same types of processes must be accomplished. Just kind of changes the order and makes it iterative. Formal discussions with colleagues, coworkers, and consultants can count as PDUs as long as they're relevant to project management, are there for a specific purpose, and the people that you're working with are knowledgeable resources towards project management. This is being coached or mentored. If you are coaching or mentoring, that's a different category. That's giving back. This is learning. You're being coached or mentored. Being coached or mentored by a colleague, coworker, or consultant can also work. But because these are harder to confirm, there is a limit. Only half of your total PDUs per cycle, only 30 PDUs per cycle, can actually fall into this category. The other 30 have to come from somewhere else, other categories. Category D, we have left the education division behind and are now moving into that giving back to the business, giving back to the profession as it's called. Category D is creating new project management knowledge. This includes authoring or co-authoring any of the following: a project management textbook, a peer-reviewed article for a submission in some kind of system where it would be peer-reviewed, a non-peer-reviewed article that is relevant to project management practices, an article for PMI's Knowledge Shelf. That's an easy one to get credit for because they have a copy. An article for any relevant e-newsletter, whether it be one from your company or elsewhere, or authoring or co-authoring an article on a blog, an official organization, professional, or company blog. Presenting in a webinar or podcast, as long as it is pertinent to project management. Now, when you present these or author them, if you author something and then present it, you get PDUs for both. The PDUs go towards creating, and in the case of presenting, it's creating and presenting. That's why it has creating and developing project management course or content. Being a speaker or instructor for project management related courses and presentations. Acting as a moderator for a formal and relevant discussion, or being selected to act as a subject matter expert for a panel discussion where the discussion, at least your part of it, is relevant to project management. Now, what happens if only part of the discussion is relevant to project management? What happens if only part of the course you attended for continuing education is relevant to the knowledge areas in the PMBOK guide? Then we're supposed to, we prorate the PDUs. How many hours were spent on that topic? That's how many PDUs should be reported. Category E, volunteer service. Volunteer service. This is doing project management work and not getting paid for it. Or taking part in committees and groups where the discussions are relevant to project management, or project management services are being offered through it, but you're not getting paid. You can't be paid for it to be volunteer. This is providing volunteer, non-compensated project management services to a non-employer or non-client group. You're not getting paid. You're volunteering. It includes serving as an elected officer in a project management organization, as long as it is a legally recognized nonprofit, not-for-profit, or charitable group or organization. Otherwise, it's the final category. You're getting paid for it. It's doing the job. It also includes acting as a volunteer or appointed committee member for a project organization. But still, you're not getting paid, so it has to be a legally recognized nonprofit, not-for-profit, or charitable group. Now, away from all of that, volunteer service, category E, is also any time you act as a mentor or coach to a colleague, coworker, or consultant. Part of our code of ethics in PMI says that we're supposed to, as a project manager, take any opportunity that we can to take people on our staff under our wing and show them how to do this right, to talk to people about what project management can accomplish for them, how it can help them to meet their goals. So they're going to give you development units for doing it right here. Now remember, these and the previous ones, they don't have individual limits, but the whole division does. You can't have more than 45 of your PDUs in a cycle come from categories D, E, or F. These count towards that total. Finally, PDU category F, working as a project management professional, getting paid to work as a project manager. Now, in order to get PDUs for doing the job as a project manager, you can only get 5 PDUs for every 12-month period you're working as a project manager. In order to earn those 5 PDUs, you have to have spent a minimum of 6 months within that 12-month period working as a project manager on the job. You get 5 PDUs a year for this being your job, which, since it's a 3-year cycle, limits it to 15 PDUs per cycle towards the 45 PDU limit for this division of professional development units. Now that's all 6 categories. That's the divisions. That's how you report them, because you report them by category. In the form online for reporting it, it asks specific questions dependent on the category you specified. So what do you do after this? Make sure you actually update your information, report your PDUs. Log into PMI, log into that CCR system, https://ccrs.pmi.org. Determine your cycle dates. Know when you've got to have them reported by. Know when you got to renew by. Yeah, you get that year of suspension, but do you really want to be suspended? Use their online system. Use that CCRS system to go in there and search for rep classes if you need PDUs. Hey, look for us, yeah. And remember to report them as you earn them. Now that ends the presentation, and almost perfectly on time. So it's time to move to questions and answers. Now it's your turn. Do you have any questions coming in, Anthony?
So none yet. If you guys have questions, feel free to type them in right now, and Barry can answer them for you. So I'm not seeing anything come in, which means that either Barry answered everyone's questions or I don't know. But if you guys want, we'll stick around here for a couple more minutes. I know that Barry has class to get back to in a little bit, but we will be here for a couple more minutes.